Welcome to the EchoCast. I am Bond, and this week we'll be talking about a giveaway I am doing on a 1-to-1 scale wearable Mass Effect N7 helmet. You can find the link to enter that on my Twitter or the podcast Twitter at Bondiesel or at the EchoCast. We'll be talking about Sony's State of Play, Summer Game Fest predictions, the Modern Warfare 2 reveal, Dragon Age named, and much more. A few things before we get into the show. Subscribe to the show on your platform of choice, and if you're on Spotify or iTunes, please rate the podcast. On YouTube, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, and hit the bell icon in order to be notified of other videos that I post. Last, please join the show's Discord by clicking on the link in the description of the podcast or the video. Gaming news, let's jump into it. First, let's talk about Sony's State of Play. So overall, I was really impressed by this. So if you follow myself or the show, I am more of an Xbox guy or PC guy. In general, I haven't owned a PlayStation since the PS3. They obviously have like killer first-party titles from like a narrative point of view and stuff like that. I do kind of poke a little bit of fun at that. All they have is third-person story, like action adventure games, which is broad, but they do have like a style, right? They don't have like a big first-person shooter or a big multiplayer game, but they don't need to, because what they do is they're extremely good at it. So I enjoy watching their state of plays as much as anything. It tends to be looking out for the third-party games, but also I enjoy catching a good Sony story. So I've never played The Last of Us 2, but I've watched multiple playthroughs and dove way into the lore. I've never played, like the Uncharted games and things like that, but I have still enjoyed learning about them, watching playthroughs, stuff like that. So this State of Play was surprisingly good. It's been kind of a joke, I think, even among Sony fans, that the State of Plays have been maybe a little rough. Often described as like that could have just been a blog, right? And that's separate from like the Sony showcases, which are like their big shows, which always bring, like a God of War or a Last of Us or something huge, right? But this State of Play was great. I won't really be talking about the VR stuff. I have to be totally honest, I couldn't care less about VR. I think it is cool that Sony is trying to dabble there, and it does sound like they are getting more people into VR at a better price point. And I suspect the same thing is going to happen with their VR 2. I just think it's such a niche thing still that I don't know enough about it to talk about it, because I'm not really going there. What I will talk about is 4 of the big things that they showed that I thought were really interesting. I'll talk about one more in the listener questions, but you'll understand when we get there. So Resident Evil 4 Remake. This has been rumored and everything for a long time. If I remember correctly, like a while ago, some extremely early footage, like unskinned, like wireframe stuff got leaked of cinematics and stuff like that, I believe. And that's that's coming. It's interesting. It has a very different vibe than the old game, than the original. Now that's obviously because of graphics and stuff like that, but it really does seem like it's maybe gonna take the old game, the original, almost had not like an arcadey feel, but kind of, right? Like the big leg swing melee and stuff like that. Like everything was very exaggerated and arcadey and stuff like that. This seems to be taking a much more gritty feel, and that's cool. seems like this is gonna take like a pretty heavy like survival route, which isn't that surprising, especially with Village being so focused on crafting and survival and stuff like that. So this is cool. I believe this is going to be a multi-platform, but there are going to be exclusives to PlayStation. I don't know if that's been announced yet, but I believe that's what's happening. I might check this out. I really enjoyed the Resident Evil 2 remake. That game is also very historical to my childhood. Where Resident Evil like 3 I never played, Resident Evil 4 I never played. The Village, I didn't have any interest in it personally. I don't really like the idea of the first person Resident Evils. I'm like one of the weirdos who thinks that game looked kind of awful. I thought the animations looked really bad, and I don't know, nothing about that game like grabbed me and pulled me in. But the Resident Evil 4 does give me a little bit of that like Resident Evil 2 remake excitement. Plus, it is such a heralded game that if they kind of took that heralded game and brought it to 2022, I might be interested. So we'll have to wait and see, but that is exciting. The next big exciting thing that they announced was the Spider-Man remaster, and it coming to PC, which is a big deal for PlayStation. If you haven't been paying attention, Sony is weird with PC. You can tell Sony is still really, really obsessed with the platform sales win. They really, really want to make sure they maximize selling their own hardware. I think Sony, and this isn't really a criticism because it's obviously successful for them, I think they're stuck in a little bit older of a mentality when it comes to their goals. I think that where Xbox and even Nintendo to a point are kind of starting to measure their success in other ways, like Xbox is going, basically allowing you to play their game through their service everywhere. Through through mobile, through PC, through your whatever Xbox you have. Now there's going to be like a dongle for your TV, or there's going to be TVs that have the Xbox like Game Pass within it to be able to stream. And then Nintendo is just doing their complete own thing with having this handheld that can also dock, and and they don't really care about graphics because their games are just good. And so it seems like Sony is definitely still stuck on this, like, we must sell the most hardware of everyone as long as we don't count Nintendo. And to do that, they're still very protective about their first party games being on their own platform. Now, Spider-Man came out a long time ago in the game world, and so this isn't that big of a deal in that sense. Just the same as like when God of War just came out fairly recently. It's been years. It's been 4 years, right? So, where, on the Xbox side, they're coming out day and date. I think Sony will get closer to that eventually. I still think we'll see like a year delay before we see games on PC. But from the way it looked like, Horizon, God of War, other games have sold on PC. I mean, they're leaving money on the table, in my opinion, and Sony doesn't do that. So this is cool. Again, I'm not super interested in Spider-Man. I've seen the gameplay, I've seen it. It looks really cool. If there's a good deal, maybe I'll buy it and play it finally. But at the end of the day, the closer Sony gets to finally starting to like let the PC players play their games, the better. The real test will be like if we ever see like The Last of Us 2, or like this Last of Us remake that's coming out supposedly. That would be the real test. So we'll have to wait and see. The next game is a third party that is going to be on all the platforms, or at least both Xbox and PlayStation, is the Callisto Protocol. So this game comes in kind of a weird situation where this game, many of the devs, especially high up, are people who worked on the Dead Space games for EA, And this game is very Dead Spacey. And the reason that's kind of awkward is because there's a Dead Space 1 remake coming out now. It was delayed, I believe, in January or February. And so we're going to have these two games that are going to be very similar. I'm sure Callisto Protocol is going to kind of do its own thing. I really hope they aren't just going to basically make the same game with a new name. But it looks cool. It looks spooky and scary. And a few weeks ago, someone asked on the podcast, like in the questions, would I ever play like a scary game or something on stream? I'm considering doing like Callisto Protocol or the Dead Space remake. The original Dead Space I couldn't even finish because it scared me so much. I was a bit younger, but it still will. So thinking about maybe doing like a playthrough that I can do on stream and maybe post it to YouTube, and y'all can see me be a big old baby. And then the final big one for me was Final Fantasy 16. I have never played a Final Fantasy game. I tried back in the day, but they were all like really traditional turn-based games. I was never into that as a kid. I thought it was too slow, too boring. Never could get into it. But you know, it's Final Fantasy, man. It's Final Fantasy, right? So even if this is a type of game that even if I don't care at all, it's still a huge deal. It's gonna sell like crazy. A bunch of people are gonna hate it. A bunch of people are gonna love it. And either way, it's gonna sell like crazy. It's gonna do very well. And it's just one of those staples in gaming that even if you don't care about it, it's still cool to see it come out, right? Like, it's just cool to see it happen, because my entire life I've been hearing about Final Fantasy, and to see them putting out new games, I mean, it looks cool. The art and, you know, the cinematics and the gameplay they showed looks wild. So cool. Let's go for it. I'll be curious to see more about it. I doubt it's going to grab me, but you never know. So I'll talk about one more game in the listener questions. But for now, yeah, this state of play was great, because there's literally been whole state of plays where at the end you're like looking around like, why did that happen? And this had, you know, multiple bangers on it. And if you like VR, it probably was even better for you. So good state of play. I don't think we're gonna see like a big showcase thing. It seems like this is their E3 show. I do assume if Ragnarok God of War is coming out this year, my guess is in like August-ish, we'll get like a showcase of just that. It's similar to what they did with like The Last of Us 2, Horizon. I suspect we'll see some of that popping up here in the next few months. But let's be honest, God of War is going to sell no matter what they do. And so they don't have to worry about it. But yeah, great show. Curious to see if they're on the 12th, if Xbox can match it. We'll have to wait and see. We'll be talking about that next week. I won't be really talking about on that this week, because we have the next topic, Summer Game Fest predictions. So I only really have a few. The big ones are Bloober. I think we know is going to be there. I think they're going to be showing off something Silent Hill related. That's been getting rumored for a while. That's kind of a contentious topic. They have made a few like okay games, the most recent being The Medium, which had some really cool tech, but as an actual game was just fine. But there is something about making a existing IP where you can kind of play off the history and you don't have to make a bunch of your own ideas. You just take the old ones and then add to it, right? So instead of trying to make their own IP from scratch, they'll be able to take their know-how, take an existing IP, you know, bring it to 2022, and see what we can do with it. So I highly suspect we'll see at least a teaser about that. From Sony, I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see probably just a teaser of Ragnarok. I think they'll want to give it its own show, like I said, in like August-ish, to really hype it up. But I've seen rumors and I've been hearing people chat that there's a chance it may be releasing a lot sooner than people think. And so if that's the case, we may see a full blowout on Ragnarok. There's also rumors that we may see a Death Stranding 2 announcement. That wouldn't be that surprising. So there's been all these rumors about Kojima doing a game with Xbox, but that, even as of fairly recently, sounds like it's still in like the negotiation stages, which means the game is not being made yet. So they're working on something. They just had the director's cut for Death Stranding, and then old Daryl from The Walking Dead. Of course, I'm gonna forget his name again, even though I'll remember it as soon as I end this recording. He maybe revealed Death Stranding 2, so we'll have to wait and see. I mean, if it's going to get revealed anywhere, it's going to be on the Jeff Keighley thing. Him and Kojima are very close, so if it doesn't happen here, if it's happening, it'll happen, either at the Game Awards this winter or next summer at Summer Game Fest. We'll just have to wait and see. One that I'm personally excited about that I do think we're going to see is Embark Studios. They have Arc Raiders, which was teased a while back at the Game Awards, I believe. Is this really cool aesthetic kind of looking game from the studio Embark in Sweden. It's just the soundtrack was killer. The visuals were killer. The idea of it just seems like it was cool and fun and fast. I really, really hope we see something from that. I think there's a chance that we see Blizzard's Diablo 4. They had Immortal just come out. That's kind of like a precursor, I think, to 4. It wouldn't surprise me at all if we see at least a trailer, but probably some gameplay for Diablo 4. Obviously, there's the deal right now going through with Activision Blizzard, potentially being sold to Xbox. That has not gone through yet. That is probably nowhere near being finalized, like within the next year, maybe. So it's not like they're going to put this on the Xbox show. And so I bet we see it here. I bet we see something. We saw a cinematic trailer, I believe, at the Game Awards or last summer. We'll see something about it, I bet, here. As for my wish list, obviously something with Mass Effect. We did just have, we'll talk about Dragon Age in a little bit. Due to what we'll talk about, I don't think we'll see that there. We probably won't see anything Mass Effect related. I think Mass Effect, the next game, will get another very light teaser this N7 day in November, and then probably maybe a more in-depth thing next 2023 N7 day. And then I think we'll start getting some marketing for that, but that's more than a year away, probably a year and a half away. So I bet we see some Xbox teasers, since the Xbox show will be happening a few days later. I suspect that Xbox will allow some like light stuff to show there to kind of entice people to come to the big show. We could see Xbox offload some of their Starfield stuff at the Game Fest, so that it doesn't kind of hang over the game showcase, so they can maybe focus on other stuff since that game's been delayed, but we'll have to wait and see. I don't know. I would love to see, I saw Netflix was one of the partners, so maybe we'll get an update about the Division movie. I highly doubt it. I recently DM'd Ross and Thurber and didn't get the impression that anything is happening with that anytime soon, for better or worse, so we'll see. And then the last thing I hope we see is, I saw Unreal or Epic is on the showcase. Maybe we'll get the announcement of some more Unreal 5 engine partners. The rumors have been pretty heavy for quite a while that like BioWare is going to put the next Mass Effect on Unreal Engine 5, but that hasn't actually been confirmed by anyone directly. So maybe we'll see maybe BioWare and maybe some other studios added to that partner list. So we'll have to wait and see. I'm really excited about that show. I will be live streaming that on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/BonDiesel. If you want to hang out with me during the show, I'm going to do the same thing for the Xbox and Bethesda showcase. So keep an eye out for that. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. So they put out a big thing saying that they will reveal the have their big official reveal of the game on June 8th. That's one day before the Summer Game Fest, which is on the 9th. So I expect probably a big trailer, probably explaining more of what the story is going to be in a single player, probably some gameplay, maybe like a Warzone 2.0 kind of tease. So we'll have to wait and see. And then I do expect that like maybe June 8th will be like the story teasers and stuff like that. And then the Game Awards, maybe they'll do like a big blowout showing Warzone 2.0 and stuff like that. So we'll have to wait and see. Dragon Age Dreadwolf is the title of the next Dragon Age game. That is about the only news they gave us this week, but they did just kind of drop it sort of out of nowhere. Because of the season, I guess things are about to start kicking off for the summer. Maybe they felt like it was a good time to get that out there. If you don't know the Dragon Age games, in Inquisition, Solus was one of your party members that at the end is revealed to be maybe this like elven god who is fully expected to be the antagonist in this next game in Dreadwolf, and he is the Dreadwolf. So it is cool. I'm not a big Dragon Age fan. I am playing Inquisition slowly but surely. But this game I'm excited about personally because I think it'll be a little bit of a litmus test of where BioWare is at. I think the fact that it's saddled to the old Frostbite engine, I think the fact that it's had a little bit of turmoil with their leadership and stuff like that. I think that there's a lot of factors that the expectations for this game should be kind of in the middle. It will probably be a cool Dragon Age game. It may not be like a Game of the Year candidate like Inquisition was, but you kind of have to wait and see. As for release date, they officially stated that there will be more info later in 2022. Jeff Grubb and others have been saying that the release will not be before June of 2023 and will probably fall somewhere between July and December, so the second half of 2023. Obviously, it's gaming, so it could always even drop off until 2024. I doubt that. It's been a long time since BioWare has put out a game, and at some point, it's good that EA is giving them time to do their thing, but at some point they need to release a game. They need to have some revenue. So obviously I think the Mass Effect Legendary Edition probably gave them quite a bit of revenue, so that I'm sure has helped quite a bit, but you know, they need some new stuff, and so I bet that happens late next year. As for Mass Effect, I believe it wouldn't surprise me at all. Myself and others have been calling the next Mass Effect game Mass Effect 4. I do not believe that's what the next game will be called. And for any Andromeda fans, yes, it's Mass Effect 5 because Andromeda was 4. It wasn't. Sorry, it just wasn't. But it doesn't matter because I think the next game is going to be a titled game. I think it'll be Mass Effect something. Which is funny because I had kind of a proud social media moment for myself yesterday when Mike Gamble, who's the head of the next Mass Effect game, was kind of celebrating the Dreadwolf announcement, and himself and Mark Dara were kind of making jokes about acronyms, and I tweeted at Mike Gamble and said, "Hey, you should tease us with the acronym for the next Mass Effect game." And he responded, MEME, obviously spelling meme, but you know, it's having a little fun with it there. That was really exciting for me because Mike Gamble does not tweet very much. So, I mean, like literally like a few times a month. So to get him to reply to me means literally nothing. And I am just a bit a speck past the world, past the windshield for him. But that was just cool to get a response from him. And then I saw people kind of jokingly, or maybe not so jokingly, being like, "Oh wow, is that really gonna be it?" It's like, no, y'all, come on. He's making pretty obvious jokes. We're not having a poster BioWare Gear Store moment here. So still fun, so cool. I'm excited for Dreadwolf. I'm curious to see kind of where this goes and how they do with it. So, also, a thing that's been interesting to keep up on is Sonic Frontiers. So this is a Sonic open world game, I believe was teased back at the Game Awards during a trailer, which I actually thought looked pretty cool. And so they've released multiple teaser trailers, or kind of like, I guess, like gameplay this week. And man, it was a roller coaster. The just open world part that it showed looked abysmal. It's super weird. The best way I can describe it, if you haven't seen it, is it looks like one of the like Unreal Engine 5 tech demos where they took like a realistic looking like forest, and then someone just took like a model of Sonic from the store and just dropped him in, and then that's what it was. Like, that's what it looks like to me. They have shown some more trailers showing like combat and stuff like that. That does make it look a little better. But it looks weird. And I think so obviously the cartoony Sonic in a very realistic looking world is like weird. Your brain just doesn't like it. But what also bothered me about it is that it is this realistic looking world, but like it's like a really low quality one. Like, you notice that when Sonic's flying around, like, the trees aren't moving, the grass that he's running into is completely static, he's just going right through it. It just looks really like low quality to me. But maybe it's not done, maybe it's early, who knows? All the same excuses we always have for games when their trailers don't look good. Halo Infinite. And I don't know. It's a weird one. I'm not like a huge Sonic fan, so I'm not going to act like I'm like really invested in this. And I know that the open world Sonic games, like historically, are not looked upon very pleasantly by that fan base. But I don't know. Who knows? They're doing some weird stuff. We can celebrate that. We had a bit of drama or whatever in the Escape from Tarkov community this week. For the last few days, there were a bunch of they posted a premiere for a video that was going to show on Friday in the afternoon, and they kept changing the thumbnail for it, and so people kept looking at the thumbnail and deciphering. They were finding like codes that would give you gear in the game and stuff like that. And so everyone was predicting like, oh, they're gonna finally like introduce radiation to the game by having like a nuke go off, or they're gonna like shadow drop this new terminal map, which has been rumored for a long time. And then what ended up happening is it was an announcement for a teaser for the arena mode. The arena mode for Tarkov is supposed to be this more like Call of Duty experience, using their mechanics and equipment and the PvP part of the game, putting it into more of like a more traditional shooter multiplayer thing. Now the controversy about this mode is that it was supposed to be part of the game. Like if you bought Tarkov, Arena was supposed to be part of that purchase because it's a pre-order, it's a beta, right? Quote unquote beta. But then a few months ago, they just kind of like said like, oh, by the way, Arena is going to be its own thing, separate, and you won't get it anymore unless you're on the top tier, the Edge of Darkness edition, which is like $100 and something. It's very expensive. And so it was a little bit of a bait and switch, in my opinion. Battle State Games, I think, is not the most trustworthy or reliable dev in the world, and that's fine. Seems like their fans don't really care. I like Tarkov. I kind of don't liking it. It gives me the heebie-jeebies. That doesn't really, it's not even like counting the Ukraine Russia stuff as well. But they say that the beta for this arena mode will be in the fall of 2022. One thing to know about Battle State, and part of the reason I think that they're a little shady, is literally in the history of the entirety of Escape from Tarkov, they have never hit a single timeline ever. So whether they've announced a specific day something was going to happen, whether they've announced like a broad time that something was going to happen, they have always delayed every single time, like clockwork. And so I bet this beta doesn't drop until early 2023, late 2023, or maybe even later, just to be straight up. As an example, there's a map that's supposed to be coming in the next 6 months to a year called Streets. It's going to be like 10 times bigger than any other map they've done or whatever. I believe this map was teased back in like 2017, before the game even like opened up to people playing it. So, you know, you gotta take it with a grain of salt. Speaking of developers having some issues, we'll talk about the Division 2. I'll do a little blurb on this. First, there were some issues with the expertise system that came up. People were able to basically cheese it and get double experience and go past the level 20 cap that was supposed to be in. So they fixed that. And then that fix actually made it so if you took gear into conflict, you would lose all of your progress on that gear. So then they shut conflict down. They've stated that they're going to try to figure out. So first with the expertise system, they rolled people back to what they should have been. And then they said that they're going to try to compensate people for materials and stuff like that, but they don't have an exact system to calculate that. So we'll figure it out. And then the conflict thing happened. Luckily, there's like 32 people who play conflict in the entire world, so it didn't probably affect that many people. Haha, I'm sure it's more than that, but can't have been that big of a deal. But they still did it, and that's fine. Supposedly, they're working on a fix that will come out next week. So not a good look. Kind of rough. But luckily there was an apparel event that was going to start on Thursday that everyone was excited about until they weren't, because it got delayed indefinitely. Apparently one of the things coming in the next apparel event is that you'll basically be able to do like transmog with your backpack, but not with like other backpack models. It's with these apparel items that will have like these like very specific looks. And so it's kind of cool, I guess. It's basically transmog, but not with an item you get in the game, but with an apparel item. From what I've seen them say is it sounds like there was basically an issue with that system, and that's why they had to delay it. So it was a rough week for the Division. You've got devs like Pele and Yannick and other people on there kind of being like, hey, like this sucks for us too. Obviously you have the expected, sensational, clickbaity creators making a big dramatic deal out of it. You have obviously a bunch of people in the community very upset and being very vocal about that. This is a circumstance where I think it's fair to be upset. And if you want to tag at the Division game on Twitter and say, this sucks and I'm annoyed and I'm frustrated, that's totally fair. Like it does suck. It's a terrible look. That said, there's obviously been handfuls of people who have decided to attack the devs individually and very directly and personally. That's stupid. And every time the more I see that, the less bad I feel for people, and I should feel bad for people. It's how I feel about PvP and the Division in general, is the PvP players have been done dirty, especially in Division 2, but even Division 1, because it sucked in Division 1, and people still managed to love it, which is cool. I think it's problematic, but that's fine. And then in Division 2, they didn't even get any love. Red Storm bounced after a couple months, and then it's just been abandoned. And so I want to feel bad for that community because it's big enough that you hear from it, even though it's pretty small. And even if it's small, it still deserves some love. But unfortunately, it seems like a bunch of the people in that community are like the worst parts of the community. And so that makes you not feel as bad for them. And I feel the same way when this stuff happens. Massive and Ubisoft, definitely deserve shit for what's going on. This sucks. It looks bad. They had a long time to work on this stuff, even though there's never really enough time. They still had a lot. They delayed this. And so, and I talked about this in a video I made, like if they're already struggling to get this stuff out in the first season of this year 4, it doesn't look good for the rest of the year and the other seasons. And then that doesn't look good for them to really boost player counts to then get a year 5. it's a bad look, and it's bad for the game. It's bad for the IP. I have a lot of patience. I have a lot of understanding of what's going on, maybe more so than some others. So I have a pretty big benefit of the doubt. But at some point, you just kind of got to get shit done. Like, you just got to do it. And so, if you're frustrated and upset, my advice is, tweet the Division game, maybe not any individuals, and just don't play it. Don't pay for the pass. Don't pay for the season pass. Don't buy the apparel items when they drop. Don't play the game. If you're upset, vote with your time, because that's what's going to matter the most. And that's what I said in the other video as well. The biggest power you have is your time and your attention. So if you don't like how things are going, make that clear. And that's what I would say. On a brighter side, they did have the new Manhunt came out this week, the second lieutenant, as we're climbing the ranks up to the main Manhunt target for these True Sons. It was fine. There's a pretty substantial story beat that gets hit. If you don't want to know what the spoiler is for the second lieutenant in the final little voice comm, wait like 15 seconds or skip. So 3, 2, 1, spoilers. The hunters are controlled by Homeland Security. And so that's a topic that I'll get into more later. Okay, no more spoilers. I'm waving my hands if you're watching the video. So I like the Manhunt. The final mission takes place at the bank mission. It was kind of underwhelming because I played through it. It was kind of it's just a different take on that mission. And then you get to what's like, I think in the regular game, that like the big area before you get to the final part of the mission, that's where the final part of this Manhunt is for this lieutenant. And then it just ends. It's just over. And I was kind of surprised. I thought that was kind of weird, that they didn't let us continue on to that final fight, but okay, whatever, man. It's cool. There's some cool lore, like I said. And these things aren't amazing. We've kind of gotten the least of what I wanted, right? The countdown is fine. I haven't played it in like 3 weeks or 2 weeks. And these manhunts are fine. And then you do the leagues and you do the global events, and it's a reason to come play the Division for a couple hours a week. And that's better than nothing. It's a shame it's not more, but we won't beat that dead horse. And then the final segment here, just a quick impressions of a couple of things I've been playing. So I played Sniper Elite 5. It's on Game Pass. I've played, probably 5 or 10 hours of it. Not really my type of game, but very fun. If you just want a game, especially if you have Game Pass, definitely try it. But it's a great little sandbox. You can dive in and, shoot a bunch of Nazis in a bunch of weird ways and blow stuff up. And if you're me, you shoot you're stealthy for like 10 minutes, and then you just start, going out with your Tommy gun and destroying everything like it's Call of Duty. But, still fun, cool game, lots of stuff, lots of things that you can do to get better and to learn that game more. And I highly suggest checking it out. The other game that came out was Roller Champions. This is Ubisoft's kind of roller skate, 3-on-3, I don't know, kind of clone of that, the car soccer game. It's fine. I was having fun with it for a minute, but it just seems like kind of like another half-baked Ubisoft game that they're just kind of throwing out there to see if it sticks. And it seems like that's like all Ubisoft has been for a couple of years now, that they just keep throwing this stuff out. Hyperscape, Roller Champions. We'll see if Heartland is like that. We'll see if, some of these other games they have coming are going to be like that. It seems like basically like 5 years ago, they were like, hey, we need something like Fortnite. And then, or however many years ago, 3 or 4. And even though the time for that has kind of passed, those games are now hitting and coming out, and they're kind of coming out with kind of a collective, okay, like, I don't think anyone's excited about Roller Champions. I did find it kind of funny that I did sign up to, just out of curiosity, to be one of their partners, and I was denied. But then when I looked and saw the people who that apparently are, it's kind of weird that I got denied, but maybe it's because I've been a little more negative on Ubisoft lately. We'll see. But Roller Champions, I don't know. It's free to play. Check it out. Maybe it will jive with you. I think it seems like it was probably a waste of a bunch of really good developers' time and a bunch of Ubisoft's money. We'll see. Listener questions. Let's get into that. The first question is from Sharif on Twitter. Street Fighter 6. Interested? Question mark. So this was the other state of play game I was withholding until this part. Not a fighting game guy. Me, not even a little bit. Not like since like the arcade Mortal Kombat games, like at my uncle's bowling alley, you know. But the style of Street Fighter 6 looks wild, looks super cool. The aesthetic is so neat, and seeing that it's going to have kind of like a single player kind of thing to it, I mean, it might be my Street Fighter 6 time, especially since it's going to be on Xbox. I highly doubt Xbox will be able to pull this on Game Pass, at least not for a while. But I'm interested. It looks super cool. I really like they've stylized the movement and stuff to make it kind of almost like a comic book. It's hard to explain unless you see the trailer, but it looks super dope, and I am very into it. And I'm glad they fixed their logo, because that logo from the first reveal was not good. It was very ugly. So yeah, super interested, and big thanks for the question. The second set of questions here comes from 3 Eskimo on my Discord. The first 2 questions, these are the Division questions. What was your favorite exotic from the Division 1 and 2? So from Division 1, it was definitely Big Alejandro. I love the MG42, just the historical part of it, or MG3, I think is what they actually were. It's a Spanish variant, a more modern one. That gun was so fun to use in Division 1, especially with the Lone Star build, I believe, classified, where if you had 2 of them, you could switch back and forth and get reloads, and it would like speed up the RPM, and so fun. Cool gun. In 2, I don't know. In 2, I guess it would be that Hunter backpack, was it Memento? That one's pretty cool. I don't think there's guns. I don't really care about any of the guns. But the Memento backpack, or the mask, or whatever the hyena mask is, I can't remember it. I like my builds that have those, even though my main build is a skill build where I don't think I use any exotics. But yeah, those 2. The second question from 3 Eskimo was, what gear sets or weapon exotic would you like to see return from Division 1 to Division 2? Maybe Nomad. That'd be an interesting one to see them use, kind of with the different mechanics of Division 2 as a gear set. As an exotic, I don't know. I don't really think I have one. You know, we've already gotten a couple. We've had a nod to the house and the apartment SMG, named SMG. Yeah, I can't really think of anything off the top of my head other than maybe, or the Lone Star set. Bring that baby back, the gear set. I would love to see that because, yeah, I did enjoy that. So we'll have to see. And then one more question from 3 Eskimo, something not Division related, was, have you tried Diablo Immortal yet? Yay or nay? I have not. Diablo, I have a weird relationship with Diablo. I loved Diablo 2. I played a ton of it when I was younger. I didn't really play 3. Generally interested in 4. Curious more than anything. Immortal has, that controversy behind it with the mobile stuff. I know now you can play it on PC. They did a port. So I've seen 2 opinions on it. I've seen Dr. Lupo come onto a stream where he was going to do a big very well paying ad for it. But then he did some math and figured out that it really shoves the microtransactions in your face, and that it would cost $50,000 to get them all, or like thousands of years of playtime. He didn't like that. And then I saw Mike from GamesBeat Decides. You like, yeah, the microtransactions are kind of annoying, but it's fun. And so I may actually fire it up on my phone and check it out there and see if maybe I'm into it. And if I am, then maybe fire it up on my computer. I would kind of just rather wait for Diablo 4 though, to be totally honest. So I don't have any strong feelings about it. It seems like maybe, it's kind of going down the same path as every other free-to-play game these days. But I'm still curious. So I think I'll check it out on my phone. And if I play it, I'll talk about that next week. Thank you, 3Eskimo and Sharif, for the questions this week. If you have your own questions, you can ask in the YouTube comments. You can ask in my Discord. You can ask on my Twitter or the EchoCast Twitter. Hell, you can even email me if you find my email address on my Twitter account. So be sure to do that for the next episode. A couple content updates. I am going on a vacation at the end of this month in June. That shouldn't impact the podcast at all. It may impact, it will impact streams I was going to do during that time, but I'm kind of streaming whenever I feel like it at this point until there's a game I really want to play. And so it shouldn't be that big of a deal, but if you don't hear from me, that's why. And like I said before, I will be live streaming the Summer Game Fest this coming week, and the Xbox and Bethesda Game Showcase the following week. So please check out my Twitch, twitch.tv/BondDiesel for that. And one reminder, again, I am giving away a wearable Shepard N7 Mass Effect helmet. If you want the link to that, check out my Twitter @BondDiesel or @the EchoCast. It is in the pinned tweet. And that's where we are going to wrap this baby up. So please subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast provider, and don't forget to rate the podcast if you're on Spotify or iTunes. If you're on YouTube, please thumbs up this video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment because that helps me with the algorithm. It helps me get noticed. You can find me all over the internet as BondDiesel, including on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and on Twitch. And you can please, if you want to, check out my merch for the EchoCast and BondDiesel at the Streamlabs link in the description below. That's all I have, so until next time.